from the University of Colombo Leo Club. As you already know, the official newsletter of the Leo Club of University of Colombo, our Essence, is conducting this talk show series, which is Detect and Correct, where we will be mostly talking about debatable and important aspects in the current context. And the interview sessions with renowned Sri Lankan personalities from various backgrounds will be held through this interview session. And actually, this is going to be our last interview for the Detect and Correct of this year. And we are connecting YouTube as well as the written article through our official newsletter. That is the speciality of this segment, actually. So this Detect and Correct is also going to be quite an interesting topic, I would say, because it's about something that is closer to our hearts. Animals. Actually, animals are, it could be a wild animals, it could be a domestic animal, it could be a zoo animal. Regardless that, we all love animals and they have their own rights and they have their own needs that need to be fulfilled. But unfortunately, in a world that we are talking about human rights and making the society a very special place, we tend to forget that animals are also living, breathing creatures, and we are not giving them the same rights that humans are getting. So we are going to talk about animal welfare today, and to talk in depth on this topic, we have a very expert person on this background. Lalani Serasinga Pereira, animal welfare advocate. She has served as a public officer, and a greater part of her public service was an additional secretary in the Ministry of Justice. And after her retirement, of course, she's acted as a columnist for the Sunday Times for several years. So welcome to Detect and Correct, Madam.
Yes.
Let's start this. Yeah. Let's start a discussion.
I'm so happy. Yes, I'm so happy that I am able to participate in this, because we need a lot of, we need the people to get very involved in this, because animals are also sentient beings like us. So I'm so glad that the Leo Club of Colombo University has selected these topics, because now we get the opportunity to discuss the plight and needs of animals who unfortunately have neither a vote nor a voice to protect themselves, but yet have a right to life and a right to be free from harm and danger.
Yeah, of course. So before starting this discussion, would you please give a brief description and introduction about yourself to our viewers?
Well, I think you have already introduced me. Professionally, I'm a lawyer, but I have been more a public officer, serving in the Ministry of Justice and two other ministries. And I have been involved with animal welfare activities for for over 20 years. Actually, it was my daughter, who was a teenager 20 years ago, who really inspired me to get involved in animal welfare activities.
Okay, so then moving on to the topic of the day, this word animal welfare, we have heard this in many instances. It could be an animal activist or an environmentalist. They have different views on this, the word animal welfare. So I would like to know what is your perspective on animal welfare, and also there's this misconception when it comes to talking about animal welfare, that it is only about domestic animals like cats or dogs or the pets. I think it is not the deal. So can you clarify on that as well? Why do you think the people are having this misconception about this term animal welfare, about only domestic animals?
That's actually not correct at all, as you say. But I wouldn't say it's a total misconception. It's just that the majority of people are more familiar with cats and dogs, who are also the most common pets. But the situation is changing. And animal welfare versus animal rights, we'll discuss that later, but the situation is changing, where animals are no longer considered chattel like tables and chairs in the past, but they are also beings who have a right to life and right to be protected.
Okay,
I
so just like you said, the term animal rights and animal welfare is quite used in hand in hand. So what is the connection between these two? And give us your idea about animal rights and animal welfare.
Well, I'll give it to you very briefly. Animal welfare is all about the humane treatment of animals. Example, if you need to slaughter them for food, you have to use humane methods. Animal rights is all about not using animals for food or for clothing or anything else. That's the main difference. Now, according to PETA, that's an internationally known International Animal Welfare Organization, this is how they define it. They say animal rights mean that animals are not ours to use for food, clothing, entertainment, or experimentation. Animal welfare allows these users as long as humane guidelines are followed. So that's the major difference between these two.
Moving on to the practical side of this animal welfare, we have seen many instances where actually I saw it in the recent, currently I saw this video which was going viral about in China. These cute dogs and animals were farmed actually to take fur and for taking leather, and they were killed very brutally just to take this fur and whatever that is needed to take leather and things. And also when it comes to Sri Lanka, also we have seen instances where their own pet dog was killed, shot and killed because I don't know, for bizarre reasons. And also we talked a lot about this animal cruelty against elephants and tuskers when they are used in Asala Perahara, Kandy Asala Perahara. So these are the few instances I actually mentioned. I saw that instances. So likewise, people are actually talking about animal cruelty and animal abuse on and on always. But still, regardless this huge hype from people, this animal cruelty, these unfortunate instances keeps happening. Why do you think that, what is the reason for this to keep happening? Is it a drawback in our legislative system, or is it the attitude of people? Why do you think this keeps happening in Sri Lanka as well as in the world?
Actually, attitudes and drawbacks in the legal system are both there. The thing is that over a period of time, those days there wasn't much reportage on animal cruelty. It's not that it was not there, but now every little incident of animal cruelty is being reported. What you mentioned about the dogs and the elephants and all that, what's happening in China, all that is now being reported. So it's not that, I wouldn't say it has increased, all right, but reportage is more, so that you see it more often. And of course, there are legislative weaknesses that I will refer to later. Then many want to see animals performing. That is for their entertainment, like for example in circuses. Then some want to possess animals as status symbols. Now you spoke about elephants. Apart from elephants, now a lot of people want love dogs, or they want to have a dog as a pet, but because it's a status symbol to have a pet. Not everyone, but a lot of people. Now, those days it was a bit different. Even in the case of elephants, elephants in captivity. I don't think elephants should ever be in captivity unless in a place like Pinnawala, where they need to be in captivity. So that's the difference from those days to now. The cruelty and all that has been there, but main thing is people want to see animals as entertainment and also as status symbols. Now, in one of my, I was a columnist in the Sunday Times about 2-3 years ago, and in one of my, the column was called Voice for Animals. In one of the articles, was titled From Pinnawala's Freedom to Shackles in Somebody's Backyard. Because Pinnawala, they are free. But if they are in private backyards, they are not free. You would have seen photographs how they are tied, how they are suffering. It's really terrible. It's very sad to see that. So to overcome that, we have gone to court. The Animal Welfare Trust, that's a leading animal welfare organization in the country, that went to court to legislate for captive elephant regulations. Now, Cabinet has approved that. That was long ago. That was 5 years ago in 2016. But it has to be gazetted, as you know, to come into operation. But it has still not been gazetted. Why? Because the elephant owners are protesting. They want to use the elephants for their purposes. They are not, I'm not saying all elephant owners, right? But the majority, for them, these are animals who help them to earn a living. So that's what is really sad. So that's why we want to get these captive welfare regulations passed soon, that they can be held accountable.
Okay, so the next question is, actually you mentioned this as well about animals keeping in captive in zoos and for carnival purposes and parks. But we can see currently there's huge people pressure actually imposed upon these concepts like animal zoos or parks or circuses, sorts of things. And actually we as humans, we saw how hard it is to be inside our own homes at this lockdown. So how hard would it be for animals to be locked out at their cages for 24/7 for longer period? So it does so much damage, physical as well as psychological damage to these animals because they are held in captive. So what is your take on this topic of keeping people captive, animals captive? And also how do you think Sri Lanka is performing to move towards moving away from these captive concepts? And are there alternative measurements that authorities would take to minimize this animal abuse of keeping them captive?
Fortunately, the concept of zoos are moving away. They are really moving away. Most countries, they are closing their zoos. So actually, zoos are there to entertain people, but it's a lifetime of incarceration for the animals. Now, one of the articles that I wrote for that column is zoos, for whose benefit are they? Man's benefit or animals? That's the query that I post in that article. As for elephants in zoos, some of you may recall what happened when elephant Nandi, you probably are familiar with Nandi, the elephant Nandi, was gifted by the government of Sri Lanka to the government of New Zealand. It caused a huge uproar locally as well as in New Zealand. Then a group of us animal welfare activists went to the Court of Appeal in an attempt to stop the transfer from Sri Lanka to the Auckland Zoo. And fortunately, then the transfer became halted, but temporarily. But what is really fortunate about this is, recently I saw the media reporting that these two other elephants in that zoo, in Auckland Zoo, they were going to be moved from the zoo to an open sanctuary. That's great news, because that means our Nandi also will not have to go to that zoo. So, and Sri Lanka has also mooted an open zoo concept. It's indeed a very, very welcome change. And also, Elephantine appeal to save the star of our wildlife. And why are we parting with our elephants? These are two other articles which people who are interested in animal welfare might find interesting.
Okay, so moving on to the last question, actually. This is actually on your area of expertise. So please provide our audience with current legal framework in Sri Lanka for preventing animal abuse and uplifting animal welfare. How could private sector charities or other organizations and general public contribute in creating an animal abuse-free world?
A lot of happening where the legal sphere is concerned, but only thing, it's been happening for a long time, and we hope that it will come to an end soon. To tell you very briefly, the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Ordinance is what governs animal cruelty here in this country. It was enacted in 1907, perhaps sufficient during that time, but not anymore. Then animal has a very, very narrow definition in that law. It covers only domestic animals, that is people, dogs and cats and elephants who are in domestic, in households. And the offenses are very few. It is cruelty to animals or killing an animal. And the punishments are totally inadequate. The maximum jail term cannot exceed 3 months, and the maximum fine cannot exceed more than 100 rupees. That's absurd. So that's why a political will is necessary to change these laws. And I'm happy we have been seeing that political will. First of all, we saw it in 2005 in the Mahinda Chintana. That was the manifesto of the then presidential candidate who later became the president. He pledged to introduce laws to prevent animal cruelty, as it was a disgrace to the nation. Then in 2015, the presidential candidate, Mr. Maithripala Sirisena, pledged to introduce laws to protect animals. But due to groups with vested interests, especially the meat industry is always canvassing against legislative protection for animals. There were many delays hindering the progress of law reform, but a group of us, through a court case, a court filed in the Court of Appeal in 2010, we have been able to take the Animal Welfare Bill, which was drafted by the Law Commission. Actually, it was the basic draft was done by lawyer Mr. Senaka Weeraratne. After that, the Law Commission had wide public consultations and then finalized it and presented it to the government. So we are now, or rather in 2010, because it has been pending for a long time, from 2006, it had drafted and presented to the government, but nothing happened. Nothing constructive happened. So what we thought is, let's go through court and try to get this enacted. So in 2000 and before that also, after the Law Commission, after the bill, there was also a private members bill. Private members bill, those are bills presented in Parliament by members of Parliament. So Venerable Athureli Ratanathera, he presented Animal Welfare Bill, so that if the government was not going to take action, he could have it passed as a private member's bill. You may perhaps remember there was one occasion where the National Authority and Tobacco and Alcohol Bill, when nothing was happening, a private member's bill was also presented in Parliament. Then the government took over and passed that bill. So like that, Venerable Ratanathera thought that he could do that, but unfortunately, Parliament was dissolved that year, so the bill lapsed. So the Law Commission draft was improved upon. Then after that was the Law Commission draft. Then in that draft, animal is defined very, very widely. Unlike in the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Ordinance, it recognized a wide range of offences. Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Ordinance, which is now in force, only talks about killing animals and little harm committed towards animals. But this Animal Welfare Bill recognizes a wide range of offences, and there's special provision for humane transport of animals. I'm sure you have seen how chicken are being transported in lorries. I'm sure you have seen. That's for slaughter in the sun and the rain, how they are being transported. Now, the Animal Welfare Bill has a special chapter on how to transport. They are going to be killed, but at least on their way to slaughter, there should be some kind of, well, I don't know what to call it, at least give them some comfort on their way to slaughter. So this animal welfare bill has one whole chapter on how to humanely transport animals. Then animal experimentation. This is also a new thing in the animal welfare bill. There are also provision for human animal experimentation methods. And the other thing is stringent penalties. Right now, it's the maximum fine is 100 rupees and the maximum jail is 3 months, as I told you. But in the animal welfare bill, there are very stringent penalties. The jail term can go up to 2 years imprisonment, and fines that can go up to 100,000. So we hope that the animal welfare bill will become a reality soon.
Okay, so finally, can I know about your involvement in the AWPA organization, because that is how we contacted you. So tell us about what is your connection to the AWPA organization.
Actually, I don't belong to any organization. I'm a freelance activist, but I help all animals with legally. If they want any advice, I help them. Then for their sterilization, I do a lot of sterilization programs whenever I can afford it. I have been doing a lot of programs whenever I can afford it, okay? And a lot of other animal welfare organizations have also been pushing for the enactment of the animal welfare bill over the years. Now, as I said, it was a mighty struggle to take the animal welfare bill forward. And that's when a group of us went to the Court of Appeal in 2010 in an attempt to not only get the animal welfare bill expedited, but also to have a vast number of other laws to prevent animal cruelty introduced, like prohibiting animal sacrifice. That we have, we managed to, by a Court of Appeal decision, we could not stop it or ban it. But after the Munneswaram slaughter, we went to the Court of Appeal and got an order from the court to say that they can't say not to slaughter, that if slaughtering is done, it should be done in a humane manner. So at least it limits this. So that was one achievement. Now we are trying to get a law to totally ban it. Then we are also trying to get a law enacted for legally recognized humane rabies control methods, because before 2006, rabies control was by killing the dogs. That was terrible. I don't know whether you have seen, no, you wouldn't have seen, how they catch the dogs, throw them into the vehicles, and before they go to the dog pounds to be slaughtered, they are already dead in the vans. So another law that we have mooted through this court case is legally recognizing humane rabies control methods. And I must also mention, you would have probably heard of veteran pioneer animal rights activist Sagarika Rajakarunanayaka. She is someone who actually met the president in 2006. And she was able to get the president to issue a presidential decree that dogs were no longer to be killed as a rabies control method, but that they should be sterilized and vaccinated. A concept called CNVR. That's the sterilization and capture, neuter, vaccinate, and release. Release to wherever they were. So now that is the system that is working now. Now we are trying to get a law passed to do that, because we never know. There may be a time, it's only a policy. Policies can be changed easily. So we are trying to get a law through to legally recognize CNVR. And at that stage, now when we presented all these proposals to the Court of Appeal, the government, on the advice of the Attorney General, appointed a steering committee consisting of the relevant government officials from the relevant ministries, like the Livestock Ministry, the Wildlife Ministry, whatever ministry that had things to do with animals. and representatives of the court case to study all this. And after that and through the steering committee, we have been trying to push all these laws now. Since more about welfare bill, we have great extending getting animal welfare bill passed, but it still has not reached Parliament. In fact, we have met President Maithripala Sirisena, President Mahinda Rajapaksa, and last year in March, we met the incumbent president, Mr. Gotabaya Rajapaksa, and it was a very fruitful and promising meeting. And then now the bill is the responsibility of the Minister of Agriculture. This has been going from one ministry to another. Now has ended up in the agriculture ministry. The minister is Mahinda Rajapaksa. We have already met him twice, trying to get this bill expedited, and in October he went to cabinet approved there was cabinet approval for the bill last October, but now the legal draftsman has to put it into order. So at the moment the bill is with the legal draftsman, who is finalizing it with the relevant ministry, that is the Ministry of Agriculture, and we hope that it will be presented in Parliament soon.
So that was all the questions we had for the discussion. So do you have anything finally to add on this topic or initiative or something?
Well, we have been struggling for a long time. And again, I would like to say animals are also sentient beings. They feel pain and they experience fear like us. So we need to protect, and they have no voice. So we have to do it. And I would urge everybody to be kind to animals, because we hear so many stories of cruelty to animals, especially dogs. Even recently, we saw that dog, several cases of dogs. So I would like to say, just look at animals also as sentient beings who feel pain and experience fear.
Okay, so thank you so much, madam, for joining with us today. And I actually appreciate your insight that you gave us, not only as someone, as a lawyer who is an expertise on this side, but as a human being. You taught us to love animals, and that they also are living, breathing beings that can't talk and express their pain. So thank you so much once again on behalf of the entire University of Colombo Leo Club. Lalani Pereira, the advocate. Actually, you graduated from the University of Colombo, right?
Yes, long years ago. Law faculty.
Yes, actually, that is a very, we are actually proud to say that you're from University of Colombo. So thank you so much, madam, for joining with us and for sharing your thoughts and your insights on this topic.
And I'm proud of all of you all too for getting involved in this and working for a better life for the voiceless.
Okay, so thank you so much for all the viewers for joining with us for all these episodes of Detect and Correct, and thank you for joining with us.